Hi. Is the step up automatic if it's in the trust passing down to beneficiary? Okay, so this is talking about real property that's in a revocable trust. So oftentimes people will either put their real property directly into a revocable trust, or in Florida, if you are able to utilize a ladybird deed, if you're living in Florida, then you'll sometimes do a ladybird deed and the property will deposit into the trust upon the survivor's passing. So one person owns the property when they pass away, if it's owned by spouses, when the surviving spouse passes away. And then from this point, once it's in the trust, whether it's in the trust as soon as you form the trust and you put it in the trust directly by deeding it to the trust, or it goes in through the use of a ladybird deed when the survivor passes away. Once it's in the trust, it then passes to the beneficiary or the beneficiaries. And this question is asking, is the step up automatic? Once it's in the trust and it passes to the beneficiary. So yeah, the way it works is essentially the property will be distributed from the trust to the beneficiaries, or sometimes the beneficiaries decide to sell it directly from the trust. So you get the step up in basis on the date of death of the grantor, the person who created the trust, or if it was created by spouses upon the surviving spouse's passing. So that date when the property is actually able to be inherited by the beneficiaries is when the step up in basis occurs. So if the idea is these are kids that are inheriting the property and they don't want to keep it, they're going to sell it directly from the trust. Well, the property gets its step up in basis the day they inherit it, the date of death of whoever created the trust. And then when they turn around and sell that property out of the trust, they get to use that higher basis. Again, I've described this in previous videos, but if you weren't watching those, the basis is the number that's used to determine what you're going to pay, if any, in capital gains tax. It determines how much gain there is upon a sale. So as an example, you buy a piece of property. We're going to say this isn't a primary residence because it works differently for primary residences, but you buy a second home and you buy it for $300,000. That is your basis, $300,000, what you bought it for. And then you turn around and sell it years and years and years later for $600,000. So the difference between what you bought it for, that basis, the $300,000, and the $600,000, what you sold it for, so the difference between the two of those, which is $300,000, is what they use to determine what you have to pay capital gains tax. Your amount of gain is $300,000. So the step up in basis means that the property that's in the trust no longer has to use what it was originally paid for. So whoever put it in the trust, whatever they originally paid for it, that is no longer their basis, or the basis when you inherit it. It's a step up in basis, meaning the new basis, the number that's used to determine whether taxes need to be paid or not, is the date of death value of the property. So it's when whoever created the trust passes away, or again, if it's spouses, when the surviving spouse passes away, which oftentimes is a significantly greater number because families will buy property and they'll hold on to it for 20, 30, 40 years. And the whole time, the property is appreciating, or maybe it dips, but then it reappreciates. Real estate tends to go up in the long run. So rather than needing to use the number that it was purchased for, which is probably much, much less than what its value is when you actually inherit it, you have the luxury of using that value when it's inherited to determine if you have to pay any capital gains tax at all. And to answer this question, yes, it's an automatic thing. When you inherit the property, it gets that step up in basis by virtue of it being passed down to you through the trust. All right, I hope this answers the question. If you have any other questions regarding real property and trust, anything to do with estate planning at all, or elder law, Medicaid, asset protection, and you're in Florida, don't hesitate to reach out to our office or atCAUSE law office, the non-stuffy attorneys, and the link is in my bio.